Rainbow Push, Push Tech 2023.
And I'm so grateful for Kevin Nichols and this amazing program, Science in the City. It's something to see when you decide to take what you've gained, what you've learned, what you've experienced, and pour it back into a generation that needs it a whole lot. So before we do this quick conversation, I want you all to check out the screens to see what this work is all about.
Here's something we like. Not all the news in our community is bad news. Tonight, we meet two men, a Stanford professor and a diversity leader at the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. We see what can happen when two high school buddies put their heads together to make a difference. Here's NBC's Cheryl Hurd.
Kevin Nichols loves the Bay Area. That's why he is investing in it in his way, by reaching out to Black and brown students and introducing them to science.
Someone from Berkeley Lab just won a Nobel Peace Prize in physics. If we don't get African American students particularly interested in chemistry and physics and math and science, no one's going to really pursue the next item, the next scientific discovery, because there's no incentive to.
10 years ago, he didn't know his high school friend had the same thoughts, but he soon found that out. Back in 2012, Stanford Graduate School of Education professor and former science teacher, Dr. Brian Brown, was awarded a grant from the National Science Foundation to teach students from historically Black colleges and universities culturally relevant STEM curriculum that he developed for middle school aged students. As a byproduct of this research, these students would lead a week-long day camp at Stanford that he coined Science in the City.
We want our young people to see themselves as future physicians, biologists, biochemists, engineers, and the only way to do that is to give them experiences early on.
Dr. Brown needed middle school students to participate in the camp, and that's where he tapped his high school friend, Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory diversity leader, Kevin Nichols, to help attract students to participate in the program.
I have a pretty decent network, so when I put it out there, we got a lot of students to participate.
I find that young people love science, they just don't know it yet. And so part of the joke is that if you leave the kid with us for a week, we're going to send you home with the scientists.
Brian and Kevin secured a grant to run the Science in the City for 2 years. The grant money ran out in the third year.
There aren't a lot of companies that really want to invest in chemistry and physics and traditional engineering. So we have to reshape the way we look at the future.
Eventually, Nichols was able to secure funding from Google, allowing the social engineering project to continue. The emphasis is on getting Black and brown students who would normally not get exposed to science interested. The project sponsors camps at Stanford and other locations. More money is needed for it to continue.
So in order for us to be able to thrive here in the Bay Area, we need help. We need partnerships with tech companies. We need municipalities and county and state organizations to support us.
That financial support will help expose young people like Naomi and Troy Coleman to careers they never dreamed of.
This year, when I went to Science in the City, it was extremely fun, and I had so many friends there, and I'd love to continue going to that camp.
When I thought of scientists, I didn't really think of people who look like me. If you can really get into how science applies to our life and the fun things that you get to learn about, it really opened my mind.
So far, this project has opened the minds of a couple thousand underrepresented students of color. The goal is to reach thousands more. Cheryl Hurd, NBC Bay Area News.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Mr. Kevin Nichols. Thank you, sir. Have a seat. Wow, that was an amazing, amazing video. Thank you for that kind of passion. Where did it start for you, though? I know you are a diversity and equity leader, but where did it start for you, the passion to begin a work like this, especially with students?
Well, I actually started doing these programs. I got these programs from being a student like that myself. I grew up here in the Bay Area. I went to the MESA program at UC Berkeley, went to St. Mary's High School in Berkeley, and I also participated in Summer Search and some other organizations. And rather than backpacking across the world. I ended up going to Choate Rosemary Hall in Wallingford, Connecticut for my summer, as well as the math and science engineering program at Northwestern. I was in the National Society of Black Engineers, and actually chaired, actually was a student. I was a NSBE Region 6, Go
There you
6.
go. There you go.
You know, whose house? As I digress. But I was a Region 6 officer in NSBE, chaired the camping conferences as a college student, and got into that work that way. But what really got me into doing this work was about 10 years ago, actually. USC, San Francisco Foundation, and PolicyLink, they had a workshop to show what it would look like 20 years from now in the Bay Area if black people particularly were not in the tech industry.
My.
They showed that how much the property values were going up here in Silicon Valley, and people were rushing to move here to live here, and black and brown people who couldn't afford to live here were moving further and further out. So while the school districts here were improving because of those tax dollars, the people who were moving away had to spend extra money on private school and other extracurricular activities to keep their children competitive with those students. So I saw that. Then I came to Push Tech 2025.
Yeah.
And at that particular first conference, Lisa Lambert, who's now a good friend of mine, and the CEO of Intel came to that conference and announced that they were investing $300 million to address the lack of diversity in the tech industry. So I was like, wow, I have ideas to help that. I was like, well, $300 million could help, right? But unfortunately, I guess I was wrong because I didn't get any of that $300 million. But, and I have to give a shout out to my business partner, Dr. Brian Brown, who actually is the founding board member of Street Code Academy.
Wow.
So this brother has been doing this work. He's a professor at Stanford. He's been doing this work for a long time. So I actually didn't get into this work until he asked for me to help him get 50 kids to go to this camp for Stanford. He did everything the first 2 years. I said, Brian, that's 2 Facebook posts for me. So I'm like, do you really need, do you need some help with this? Like, no, Kev, I just need students to participate. That's fine. First 2 years, all I did was Facebook posts. In year 3, I was like, well, we should keep doing this program.
Right, yeah.
But the tech industry could care less, and we didn't raise $1 year 3. So we did not have Science in the City year 3. So that's when I started rolling up my sleeves to figure out why the tech industry didn't care about kids going to college, majoring in something, math, science, chemistry, physics, or engineering.
Right.
Because if you're going to go into any industry, you've got to get past those subject matters in the beginning, or else no slight to the social scientists in here, because I'm one, but you're going to be a social science major if you don't get past those courses. So that's what I wanted to do. So anyway, I ended up getting an investment from Google, and that's how we started the social engineering project.
Right.
Yes.
It's amazing to hear, not only the fact that you were actually just asked to help a project, and you saw the cause, you saw the need, you saw the benefit, you invested your resources, your connections. 2015, our first Push Tech conference, obviously helped spark some things, but here you are now in 2023, and this program is doing an amazing job to impact young. What does it mean to you when you see those young faces? And some of you can identify with this because, Kevin, he spent some time in the East Bay. He sees the young kids who are struggling, trying to find some direction, trying to find their path and trying to stay away from evil forces or negative forces. What does it mean for you to see that child's face when they come to your camp and what you can do, like that young lady said, how she never thought about what she could be until you all got your hands on her for a couple of weeks?
Well, I'll be completely honest with you. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, I have a true story to tell with my wife. We were actually in Napa for a concert weekend, and a woman sat at our table and says, she waited for me kindly to finish eating my food. She said, I didn't want to interrupt you. She's like, but Kevin, I just want to thank you. She said, my daughter just was able to make her deposit for her college this week because you sent out this information to me. about this scholarship opportunity.
Wow.
So I raised so much money from your emails that you were sending us. The student attended one of my camps earlier, so I keep whatever information I get, I share. So she told me that one of the reasons why her kid is able to go to this college is because of what we've done to help her. I mean, I almost shed a Denzel Washington cheer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I almost did glory on her, and my wife was over there shooting my makeup. You know, I was like, so I didn't want, so it's that is a testament that it happens all the time, very random places.
Right.
But students that we touch or that we are able to give an opportunity to that wouldn't normally even think about some of the subject matters we expose them to. I have students that went to PG&E or in a remediation program because PG&E came out to teach these students about what Superfund site cleanups were.
Wow.
And then EPA does to make places to be able to be livable on top of again, and what kind of remediation is. They wanted to learn about remediation. Where are you going to learn that from? I understand, no knocking the coding and science and computer science, but we also need black and brown engineers that do a whole bunch of other things.
That's right.
So
it's amazing. So give them a hand for that. I love that. I love that answer. One of the things that we've discovered, even in being in rooms like this, is that a lot of people have a passion to give back, to help, to do something. They don't always know where, they don't always know how, they don't always know where to start. And so just from your experience, how can some of the folks in the room, again, this is a family gathering, how can we begin to think about where we pour some of our energy, resources? I mean, you start off with a Facebook post. All of us, I mean, I'm hoping everybody's moved to IG by now. If you haven't, make that transition. Or do both. Just do something, because if you want to keep up with anybody, that's under 25, you got to be on IG. But the reality is, it doesn't take much oftentimes to have that kind of impact. What can we do? What can we begin to think about? What can some of our leaders in the room, some of our executives in the room, community advocates, what can we begin to think about and how we can do our part, even in supporting you? Because we want to support programs like this, don't we? Yeah. All right.
So a couple of things. First and foremost, shameless plug. Mark your calendar. October 7th, last year, I took about 125 people to Inglenook Winery in Napa, and we had our end of the year fundraiser. We have a couple of people that were in the room that I will point out later that you can talk to and find out about their experience. But it was
Thank you. All right, got a shout out right there.
Wonderful event. And it's a fundraiser to give you some exposure to the work that we're doing. We have corporate sponsors. We also take, individual donations. I look at it this way. I also started out early on supporting President Obama's first run for office. And the way that President Obama revolutionized fundraising was that small dollar amounts make a big difference if there are a number of people that are contributing.
That's right.
So you could raise millions of dollars if you had 1 million friends.
That's right.
So I got into networking for the sole reason of I used to walk home every day from school when my mom was at work. I said, wouldn't it be great if I knew enough people that I'm walking on the street that somebody recognizes me and give me a ride? That's how I started network. I started networking in 7th grade with that. That was the thing. So now I think I might get a ride, if I'm in the East Bay. Now, what I'm saying? But so it's that network. So many hands make light work.
That's right.
And so, you can go to thesocialengineer.org. The name for my organization, you think of social engineering, you think about stealing passwords and doing things bad online. It actually comes from a quote from Charles Hamilton Houston.
Come on.
He laid down the groundwork from the Brown versus Board of Education cases. He said, a lawyer is either a social engineer or a parasite on society.
My.
So although you don't have to be an engineer or a scientist for the quote to really make sense, we look at it as you're either part of the problem or part of the solution.
Kevin Nichols, everybody, come on.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you.